During a freezing season in the early 13th century, Ibn Arabi experienced a vision so overwhelming that it silenced him entirely for several days. When speech finally returned, it did not come casually. Instead, he inscribed a deeply veiled reflection within his personal journals, describing a phenomenon he perceived as a complete reversal of reality itself. In his account, existence would reach a point where appearances and truths would exchange positions, where what is inherently right would be dismissed as wrong, and what is fundamentally false would be embraced as truth. He imagined a future where collective behavior would become paradoxical, where vast populations would unknowingly celebrate their own ruin, while those few capable of perceiving clearly would be labeled irrational or misguided. This reflection was never formally shared during his lifetime, remaining concealed until it surfaced long after his passing. Some interpreters treat these writings as symbolic insights into inner spiritual states rather than literal forecasts. Others suggest they hint at tangible conditions yet to unfold. A smaller group examines his words alongside contemporary realities, proposing that what he glimpsed aligns disturbingly with present circumstances. The discussion that follows avoids exaggeration and focuses instead on examining what he genuinely recorded, what scholars broadly accept, where disagreements remain, and whether observable patterns today reflect what he described. Before drawing parallels with modern life, it becomes essential to establish a grounded understanding of the sources attributed to him. His major works, including Al-Futuhat al-Makkiyya and Kitab al-Alif, alongside preserved letters documented by his student Sadr al-Din al-Qunawi, form the foundation of this exploration. In one widely authenticated passage, he describes a period when knowledge becomes so widespread that ignorance disguises itself as expertise. He portrays a world where superficial voices dominate discourse, where individuals possessing memorized information overshadow those who carry genuine understanding. Scholars largely agree on the authenticity of this passage, yet differ in interpretation, debating whether it refers to a specific era or reflects a recurring condition across human history. In another text, he presents imagery of societal imbalance, describing a world where generational respect dissolves, appearances become deceptive, and material illusions distort reality. However, similar themes appear within established Islamic teachings, particularly in narrations concerning the signs preceding the final hour, suggesting he may have been expanding upon existing prophetic frameworks rather than introducing entirely independent foresight. A more debated segment appears within correspondence attributed to him, where he discusses internal turmoil within the Muslim community. He warns that the greatest challenges would arise not from external forces, but from within, where individuals may present themselves as defenders of faith, while simultaneously undermining its essence. The authenticity and timing of these letters remain uncertain, with some historians linking them to specific historical conflicts, while others view them as broader reflections on future conditions. This ambiguity requires careful acknowledgement, as certainty cannot be claimed where evidence remains incomplete. Setting aside disputed material, a consistent structure appears throughout his verified writings, outlining stages through which societies decline. The first stage highlights an expansion of information without a corresponding increase in wisdom. He observed that access to knowledge would grow significantly, yet genuine understanding would diminish, creating confusion between mere data and meaningful insight. In contemporary settings, Access to information has reached unprecedented levels, yet widespread confusion about purpose and direction remains evident, raising questions
about whether knowledge alone can guide human life effectively. The second stage he outlines involves a reversal of values, where sacred principles lose significance, while superficial or harmful behaviors gain acceptance. He does not describe this simply as moral deterioration, but as a deeper psychological shift, where individuals genuinely believe that inverted values represent progress. This transformation reflects not a conscious rejection of truth, but a redefinition of it. The third stage focuses on fragmentation, where unity dissolves into countless divisions, each claiming legitimacy while rejecting others. Beyond religious differences, he describes the breakdown of natural social bonds, replaced by artificial affiliations shaped by ideology or personal preference. This resonates with modern patterns where digital connections often replace familial or community relationships, altering the way people form identity and belonging. In the fourth stage, he emphasizes the dominance of external forms over internal substance. Religious practices continue outwardly, yet their inner meaning fades, transforming acts of devotion into routines devoid of spiritual depth. He critiques a condition where individuals focus on visible expressions of faith while neglecting ethical transformation, effectively turning religion into a symbolic identity rather than a lived reality. The fifth stage introduces a more abstract concept, describing a mode of perception that distorts reality itself. Rather than focusing on a singular figure, he explains a mindset that prioritizes material understanding while disregarding spiritual dimensions. This perspective reduces existence to physical processes, ignoring deeper meanings and purposes. When such a worldview becomes widespread, those who speak about unseen realities appear disconnected from mainstream thought, as the collective framework for understanding has weakened. Interpretations of these ideas vary widely among scholars. Some argue that he described specific future conditions, suggesting that present global changes align with his observations. Others view his work as symbolic, representing internal struggles within individuals rather than external events. A third perspective considers his writings within the context of historical cycles, where civilizations rise, mature, decline, and renew, with his descriptions reflecting common patterns observed during periods of transition. Each interpretation carries its own reasoning, and none can be confirmed definitively. What remains clear is that his writings present a layered understanding, allowing multiple meanings to coexist depending on the perspective applied. An often overlooked aspect of his thought lies in his description of renewal emerging through collapse. He suggests that when false structures dissolve and illusions fade, a return to authenticity becomes possible. This transformation does not occur through deliberate choice, but through necessity, as systems built on unstable foundations inevitably fail. He describes individuals who emerge during such times, characterized not by public recognition, but by humility, sincerity, and a focus on service rather than of authority. These figures operate quietly, influencing change without seeking attention, offering guidance grounded in substance rather than appearance. Whether such individuals exist in the present remains open to observation, as their presence may not align with conventional measures of influence or visibility. Ultimately, the question of whether these descriptions correspond to current conditions cannot be answered with certainty. Patterns he identified do appear observable, yet determining whether they represent a unique moment or part of an ongoing cycle requires deeper reflection. What remains consistent is his emphasis on personal responsibility during times of uncertainty. Rather than focusing on predicting outcomes, he directs attention toward self-awareness, ethical conduct, and sincere engagement with faith. His perspective suggests that regardless of historical context, the essential task remains unchanged: to seek clarity, maintain integrity, and act with purpose within the circumstances one faces.